We're
We'll see how it
excited.
goes. Yeah.
I should say hello to everybody on the webinar today. Today we have Donna O'Toole. Donna's going to give us
Hi,
our
everyone.
first RIM month presentation. I'm looking forward to this because a lot of us have never done a RIM month before, Donna, and others
Oh,
of us have done RIM months before. So just not only with your presentation, but maybe we'll get some good comments from people as well to add to the experience you've had with doing that kind of thing in Newfoundland there.
absolutely. That sounds amazing. So, hi, everyone. As Rick said, I'm Donna O'Toole. I've been an ARMA member on and off for eons, coming back. Been a real focus on ARMA Terra Nova over the last little while. Um, COVID sort of opened up as bad as it was. It really opened up a lot of time at home. So people had a little bit more time to dig into things. So, that's when we sort of were able to put a bit of focus to ARMA Terra Nova and create a few things and get things going for us. And it was all based on actually creating some kind of campaign and communications. So I'm just going to share my screen here momentarily when it wants to come back to me.
Okay, Troy and
And
I
we
are
will
going to
get
go
this
away, Donna,
going.
and let you go.
Yep.
Sounds like a plan.
Need anything? I'll watch chat as well for you as we go. Okay.
Awesome. Greatly appreciated. And let's see if that share wants to pop up. Everybody should be able to see it now.
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. So as Rick said, this is really about sort of creating a RIM month campaign, but any campaign, to be totally honest with you. So anytime you're trying to create any education and awareness materials, communicate with an audience, that could be your local sporting group that you're volunteering with, or the people that you work with, your RIM community. It's sort of founded in similar things. So I've had sort of the privilege over the years of starting my career in IT, working with a lot of sales and marketing with Labatt Breweries actually back in the day, working for a local marketing company. There's a lot of things that I took from that as you bring into other things, and the importance of that impression that you're leaving with people and to be remembered afterwards for what that is. So this image really struck me. And one of the things you do with a RIM month, you want to find something that strikes people. And I get a lot of my inspiration, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, from just images, pictures, searching, putting keywords into something and see what comes out of it at the end of the day. And this one resonated with me. We're all extremely busy. We're all crowded with a ton of information. We don't know where it's all coming from. We're trying to view it all. That sort of all spoke to a lot of the themes that we're all experiencing, as our sort of intended audience is as well. So we're going to walk through a couple of things today that I hope will help, talk a little about the campaigns I've done, and see if we can walk away with a bit of inspiration for later in this month or even for your planning in the future. Oh, let's see, does that not want to move? See, well-laid plans. Come on. There we go. See, and then it went too fast. I'm giving away all of my slides early. Let's see if this wants to come back at all. Okay. So standing. So standing out. One of the key things with any campaign is all of our employees that we work with, the clients that we serve, our companies and the groups that we work with, they're inundated with information, and they're inundated with things that are compliance oriented too. So you can push as much IM and records management and all these things at them, and it gets added to a really long list of the things they already have to do. So it's not that they don't value it, that they don't find it important. It's just, it's mixed in with everything else. So you really want to find a way to stand out, be that sort of thing that they go, oh, that's different. I want to focus on that. I want to look at that. And over time, that'll build a little bit that you hopefully sort of capture that attention more quickly from them in the future. From back in my days working with the marketing firms, Seth Godin and the Purple Cow. It's a book. He's a wonderful speaker and entrepreneur. And it's really been written about how to stand out in what you do and do something remarkable and memorable when you do it, so that it's not just executed and done and we tick a box, but it's executed well and it's rememberable. One of the other things too is we all tend to sort of forget that the audience that we're often talking to They're not IM people. They don't understand the speak that we speak, the terms that we use. So it's really important to have plain language and speak to it in a way that they understand, in the way that talks it to it in their language. Be as targeted as you can be in those approaches. So those are some things. I got links throughout the presentation for later that you can follow through on, but check some of those resources out and sort of focus on that when you're sort of thinking through and trying to create something as you're going in. It's a bit of a checklist. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. There's no right or wrong in communicating. Doing nothing is probably the only wrong thing to do at the end of the day. Take a chance on something, right? Look at the information, hit a target group, share something out there. The worst thing it's going to get is going to get bad feedback that you can learn from, right? So there's no harm in that. You'll do it better next time. You'll do it differently next time. So one of the key things, though, is performance. You need to know how you're currently doing in order to put something out there that you want to say, I want to check to see how that is or improve on that area. You want to know what you're measuring. So any good campaign or any good thing that you do in communication, what's your measure? What's your metric for later that it was successful or it was a failure? And never let a good failure go to waste either. So if it didn't work, why didn't it work? Go out and talk to people and find out what that was. As I mentioned, for the RIM campaigns, we've done them in the past where, taking stats and data. So maybe the one key thing you want to do with your RIM campaign is just, maybe it's cleaning up email. Maybe your email volume is too high. So one of the key things you can do is work with your IT partners and get that measure, get them to run a report for what April, March 31st looked like. And then target some campaigns over April about how to clean up your email, how to properly move information to a record keeping system, how to run conversation cleanup to get rid of some transitory records, and then have them run the reports for you when April's finished. If there's a difference, you can sort of demonstrate the buy-in that everyone took to it and that they participated. If there's no change, maybe we have to take a different approach, but it won't be the same for everybody. And really identify what you want success to look like for you. So if you're creating something, is the success factor that you've issued them out, that you've got them created and you've delivered them? Is the success factor that you got comments back, feedback back? As I said, was the success about, have you decreased your email storage volumes? So really take the time to see what that measure is, because when you can capture that before and after, you can also report on that higher up. So your executive and your leadership, you can say, hey, we were successful. Here's the results of that success. And maybe when you share on Viva Engage, Yammer, any of the other intranet channels that you may be working with, look for your likes, your hits, your other pieces. Those are metrics that you can grab onto and demonstrate the engagement that you got from that. Target audience. You really need to know who you're reaching out to at the end of the day. Make sure that you're looking at it from a perspective of who needs to hear your message, what channels to reach them, and how are the group communicating already themselves. One of the key partners we always work with is the privacy office. So in my current employer, we have a new privacy office as well. And if I wanted to target them with key communications, I'd look to how are they currently communicating with each other? How are they sharing content out? That's the best way to align to how they might receive your information. So work within that piece of it. Email is sort of somewhat, I'm not going to say dated, but we get a lot of email. A lot of it pre-filters into your focused or other is your inbox. No one wants to know how many messages are in my other category of my inbox right now. But you're losing it. That's where people are pushing things. It's like, the dating myself back when you used to be able to create the rule and the really versions of Outlook and have all the ones you didn't want to get go to your deleted items. And those are the things that, you want people to see your message and engage with your message, but it's not meant to be buried in with everything else. So how do you stand out as that purple cow, that purple fish in that? Maybe it's a Teams message instead. Maybe it's a meme on your local, on your intranet and your channels. Look for things that make you stand out for them so that they can say, hey, that's funny for us, and let them engage with you and have a conversation around that. Risk identification. So when you're building your RIM campaign, what are you solving for? If you're going to invest time to do it, and it takes time and investment of effort, it takes some planning. I traditionally start planning for IM month, probably in October or November, because before you know it, it's April. And it's not that I do it all then, but I start thinking about what could we do? Where are problem areas? What's our goals and strategies for next year? Where's that focus? So that I can target communications around that. So consider what your risks are. What are the pain points? If no one is sending information to your archives or your records center, and they're all coming in correctly, not using naming conventions, not using the proper date format, that's a pain point. So give them more information on how to do that, how to sort of solve for that. And if the pain point is on their end, that you're asking for too much to be in that metadata and then coming in, find a way to automate it and then share that with them. Hey, we've helped you. This is something that can do with that. So look for things that sort of solve problems for you, but also problems for them as well. How does it align with your partners? So don't compete with those who are already identifying that risk. Don't compete with cybersecurity. Don't compete with your information security team or your privacy off. It's not a competition. You should complement each other. Share their content. Be someone who always comments on their content. Share with them what your plans are so they can circulate and comment on yours. So really align with your partners so you can make a bigger impact. And honestly, they'd appreciate your help working back and forth and sort of sharing that message. Brand yourself. Cannot say enough about this. And it doesn't mean you need a whole full package or someone to do that work for you. But if someone sees something, they should recognize it as, oh, RIM did that. That's the IM department here, or that is my archives. That brand yourself and make sure that what you're sharing is recognizable to people so they can identify the content easily. They know what to expect. And oftentimes they're looking forward to getting that again in the future. So take some time to sort of sit back a little bit and see how you're sort of positioning that. And even with brand yourself, consider, a generic email if you don't have one already, one singular point of contact, a submission form, a contact form on your site, whatever it is that everyone knows, this is where I go when I need help. This is how I connect with them. And this is where I can find all the self-serve information that they need. No one wants to wait for a time for something to happen. Everything is about opening the intranet, hitting the search button, can I find it? Knowing I hit one page and I can find the content when I need it later. So put as much effort into sort of having that space that you can direct people to. Employees come and go. We're all seeing turnover, either through retirement, which is a whole loss of knowledge that goes out in practice, to just general churn and difficulty finding staff. So when you can set something up that they're going to have no access to all the emails you've been sending this year on how to do something, or the REST approach for this, or the rules and the policies and they don't have access to it. They weren't here. They weren't on those email threads. So what is your mechanism to communicate with them? So if you create a space that you can build your campaign from and you drive them all back to that space, then they actually say, oh, this is self-serve later when I don't have time now, but I'm going to go back and check that later. So it gives them those opportunities to come back for that self-serve content. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them out loud too. Okay, so it doesn't have to cost a lot. It's costing time, effort, a little bit of resource into that to build into your capacity. But most of the things that we have done through either Armor and Over or all of the other campaigns I've done have been little to no cost. And primarily even in the public sector where I was, it's mostly out of pocket, let's be honest. There's no budget for these things. So, we've done events where you've just had cake and everybody comes in and enjoys and serve cupcakes. And I know clients, fellow clients back then and peers now that, had a potluck, had something. It could be big or small, but you can do something that that they commemorate the month with and that they remember and that is part of that. So graphics are important. No one reads text anymore, right? It's the quick image. What does it tell me? A quick blurb. I use a lot of pixabay.com, which is 100% free. Sign up for it. Almost all, I'd say 95% of the resources and the images you find on that are royalty free. So there's no worry about sort of using things incorrectly. Has a great search function. Type in a word, records, cybersecurity, whatever sort of image you want, and then scroll through the images for inspiration. Really helps to sort of figure out where you want to go. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later for one that I did not long ago. Canva. Oh my gosh. Canva can be free. There's free licenses for Canva. If they haven't used it in the past, please check it out. Some of it has, you have to be a certain level of license to get access to some of the materials, but even the free components of it are really useful for creating those graphical images that are infographics and, brochure style things and simple reads and, the Instagram style posts and the memes. You can create all of that within Instagram. You can create video self-running presentations within there. So it has a ton of options for you to work through. And the license, even if you wanted the professional license, it's not that expensive. And it's totally worth the value you get out of it for the images you can create, the consistency that you can apply across the materials that you create too is amazing for that. And it's full of inspiration. There's templates, there's design choices. It has built-in AI. So that image that went out with our sort of notification of today's event with all the fish, I couldn't find one that I wanted when I was creating that. So I told the AI tool within Canva, I want fish swimming with a blue-green background. And that's what I got. It actually generated it for me. So it's really interesting that if you're truly not even that creative in terms of finding something in that art style world, ask the AI to generate it for you and you'll come up with something there as well. The next one's new to me. So presentationgo.com. It's actually literally new this week, and I've created 3 presentations from it already. And we'll talk about that in a little bit for examples that I have. It's also a free utility. It can download slides for you in Google format or PowerPoint format. And it has all the pieces that these great presentations have that are done in other software utilities. It has sort of the infographics and the flow charts and the goals and the targets, but you can't do anything with it because you can't edit it in anything when you bring it down to PowerPoint, which doesn't help anybody at the end of the day. This actually brings it down into PowerPoint itself, native. You can click the images and change them. You can change all the text. You can create some pretty amazing presentations based on that. Don't be afraid to make plays on words. A play on words will go a long, long way. Be creative. Whatever the topic it is, maybe you're coming up with something to align with Administrative Professionals Day or International Pizza Day. Whatever it is that you're coming up with, have a little play on words. And you don't have to be that you have to create this yourself. Like there's so many memes out there and other options out there and inspiration. We recently did one within our company for Valentine's Day. And it was really about, hey, struggling for your Valentine's date, we have a recommendation for you. And it was how to do the international date format based on ISO standards. That was our little meme and our little piece of it that we shared out with everybody. It got huge success. We had 4,000 or 5,000 hits on it. And we're like, how something so simple had a better hit ratio than anything else we've put out is amazing, right? So, we had a link there for them to go back to the guidance we had documented, the official policy instruments, the documents with the long words. But yeah, what struck them was that simple little piece, and then they dove in for more information. Try to sort of find that inspirational image and then create the text that goes with it to be funny, play on words depending on your target audience, but also drive them, as I said, to where you want that information for them to go to find more information. Could be an additional tip sheet, could be something else, but find a way to play off of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign we did with Armatera Nova a couple of years ago, and it was all about play on words, and it was probably one of our most successful, and we loved it. Platforms, know what you have. We have intranets, Viva Engage for most of us, previously Yammer. Yeah, believe it or not, we still have in-person platforms. We don't use them very often anymore, but we still have that in-person approach that we can use for things. So, if there's still that bulletin board in your office that, right next to the water cooler, put something up. At a past employer, we had these little frames done up that sat on the top of all the water coolers. And it was IM tips. And through IM month last year, or the year before, we rotated them around the whole building. And we moved them around so everyone had a new tip for the whole month. And it was all about the water. Everyone was going to the water cooler anyway. So why not have something there that they could look and see? And it got a lot of feedback to the point we kept it going. They asked for us to keep it going all year. So we kept switching it out. Connect the dots for them, right? So whatever you're creating it, make it a start to finish complete package, okay? So we talked about earlier about finding out what's the pain point, what's the risk, what are you trying to solve for, what are you measuring? Then create those pieces to do that. If you haven't already, get that generic email account. They shouldn't have to remember a person to email or keep the emails of this person because it might be another one next time. A generic account really helps for that. It's all in one place. They don't ever have to remember who's in that role now. It just goes to that account. It definitely helps to keep things consistent for what you're creating. Have that web page, that website, that SharePoint site, that Teams channel, whatever it is your organization's using, have that. One of the best resources I like to follow, it's Unily.com. It's an employee engagement company that actually offers software to layer on to SharePoint and other utilities that allow you to create engaging and complete employee experiences with your intranet. So you may not be responsible for your intranet. You may not have that full realm, but I would tell you the tips and tricks they offer through their free webinars, their online resources are excellent to sort of find things that you could do differently to engage with people in employees within your space. Inspiration, get it from anywhere that suits you. Look up key dates, St. Patrick's Day and, internet, like Administrative Professionals Day, Pi Day, Coffee Day. There's an international date for almost everything, right? Like you can look forward and find, and level your partners with privacy and security and everyone else to their days as well. Because whether you just take that on and share their content or you write something specifically in RIM month that talks to what their pain point is, so you just brought a partner in, that's amazing, right? So take a quick search on the internet, internationally recognized, fun business holidays to celebrate in your workplace. You'll come up with something that can help you out with that. And I guess my final sort of tip and idea out of this section is don't reinvent the wheel. My gosh, big borrow and steal from others. Like you don't have to create it yourself. If there's something I've done and you want to ask me about something and send me a message, I'll share you everything I have, run it at your company. It's, make it your own, tweak on it and sort of go through that. It's perfectly okay. Never think that you have to come up with it and be so unique in what you're doing. There's always something out there you can to go from. We certainly didn't make up the Valentine's Day, let us help you with your date and where you're going. That's all over the internet. We just made it very specific for us and what we were doing. And again, like it's okay to repurpose, right? And don't think that the things you create, you do it once and forget about it. It takes multiple times hitting people with the same information before it even resonates with them. So repeat yourself throughout the year, repeat yourself through RIM month. Just say it maybe slightly different way. It's great to reinforce those messages. So a couple of years ago, Arma Terra Nova did a Welcome to 2022 RIM month. And we created a whole campaign. And this is just a couple of snippets of it. The link's in the bottom for anyone who wants to check it out later. About how to actually create sort of that RIM month campaign all year long and what you want to do and who you want to share it with. So it was a bit of a play on words, like, like this pixel, this was a Pixabay image. All of these images were part of a collection on Pixabay. And I went, oh my gosh, that is so fun. And when I started looking at them, I was like, hey, I can make that work. I can make that work. And we were able to tell a really great story based on it. One of the other groups I follow are pipdex.com. I don't know if anybody's seen them, found them in their social medias. I have most of their materials, but they talk a lot about storytelling, bringing people along for the journey. This is what this is. Create a RIM month campaign that, tells the story that you want them to have. So we talked about this one in, the aha moments, and, might get readers get carried away, right? Just a play on words for people. We had great success with this. We had tons of fun with it. This was Twitter, or X now, formerly known as Twitter, and we created some hashtags, and we've been using them consistently with all of our Terra Nova work, and it's making IM possible. If there's something that works for your organization, consider that. If it's available within the communication channels that you're using to have that hashtag, use it. Because right now, if you go to Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, and go to our account and actually click on hashtag making IM possible, it'll show you all posts we've done that was tagged in. So it allows people to collate that information themselves. So we did a lot of things about, making sure people know your name. It's really important for RIM month. They need to know, I talked about that generic account. They need to know who to ask for help. Who are the IM people? How can you help them? How to do that? It talks about aligning your IM program with the organization's business strategy, right? So your RIM program and overall, even what you're delivering in RIM month, it has to resonate with the business, or they don't. What's the purpose behind it? You're spending effort on something that the business doesn't care about. We might care about it, but the business doesn't. So you need to make sure to align with that. We talked about just being ideas and being innovative and talking with people and taking those opportunities. Never let a good crisis go to waste. We never want to have them. We never want to deal with them. But if it happens, what's that opportunity for you to share, either through RIM month or through other channels that you can do that? So this was a super successful campaign that we had. We had a lot of feedback on it. We actually ran a session with Lori Collins last year. It was a whole Saturday morning that myself and Lori did. And people could come in and we workshopped the whole thing of how to do that within your organization, or any questions you had to build it at that time. Okay. So this is a sample slide right out of that presentationgo.com website. I searched, I went goals setting, and it comes up with, you have 5, 4, 3. This happened to be a target 4 approach that you could create. So really look, take some time. This allows you to create some really clean, crisp content that people are going to remember later at the end of the day. And all of this happens to be Google Slides that we're in today, so it works seamlessly with that, as well as PowerPoint. But I can select any of this and go forward, make edits, change the text, the font, the colors. I can do everything as if I created it myself within the tool. So really nice feature. Here's another one. So one of the key things we're always trying to do, and what your RIM month should sort of focus on as well as you're building that campaign, what are you trying to tell them? Where are you going? What's RIM's strategy? What do you want the business to know about you? So again, those risks, those highlights, those are all idea sources that you can focus on to create RIM month. So this is a simple little timeline. It could be whatever you need. Anybody ever ask you for a roadmap? I guarantee you go to this website and type in roadmap, you're going to have more than enough choices to create a really great roadmap that no one will believe that didn't get done by some marketing firm for you versus actually generating it yourself. It is, you have to attribute the source to your content. It doesn't have to be on the slide. As you can tell from the previous one, it doesn't have to be there. You just need to reference it in the notes or somewhere else, and then you're good to go. Here's another one about putting pieces together, another type of infographic, right? So this is more about image and less about text. And that's exactly what most of our clients want to see now with image and the information that you're sharing out. Great way to do that. Any questions from anyone?
There was just comments, Donna, about that being
Yeah.
all the work that you'd done. And lessons learned, don't do anything on Saturday.
Right?
So funny.
Totally. However, Terra Nova is open to doing another one of these sessions if anybody wants a workshop. Can't promise we'll do it over RIM month, but we'll definitely look into it and do another workshop day. We'll try not to do it Saturday morning, see if we can find some compromise in that.
Yeah.
So again, all of these are great choices for you to sort of fall through, see what's working for you, and come back in. But when we go through them, remember, you really want this to be memorable to someone. You want it to tell a story. You want to create something. So I'll end off with a bit of an example of what we're currently doing at my current employer. I've done this in the past as well. It's been a huge success. We're actually creating, I don't know, I may regret this by the time end of April rolls around, but we're creating a post on our intranet, our sort of Teams and Yammer and site that we have. Every day of every month is another post, and it's targeted. We talk about email management. We talk about ROT and transitory records. We talk about our retention schedule and disposition. We give did you know tips about us and the archives and where to find the information that you need. We're doing 2 training sessions during those times. We're having an Ask Me Anything session on one day. Some of it is obviously self-serve content. Some of it's engaging with us. Every one of those days has an image. Every one of those days has content associated with it. And it's a lot of work, but it gives you the best value. We've gotten so much great feedback early on, and it's week 1. And seeing the content up, people are looking forward to it. They can't wait for the next one. We built a quiz in Microsoft Forms so that they can just go ahead and enter a quiz and get the results. They're entering to win contests. And the cost value is extremely low. It's a bit of, labor, elbow grease to create that content and pull it together. But if you start earlier enough, it sort of reduces the work as it goes. And it's really important that you take the time to get your executive to buy into what you're doing. So my current employer, fabulous for executive support. We couldn't get any more of it, actually. They're very willing to help out. Anything we're doing, they're sharing with their staff. They're recommending to leaders to make sure that they do that within their teams. And everyone is extremely supportive to be able to do that. So that works out really well when going through those pieces as well. But did anyone want me to take some time and walk through any of the websites that I've talked about?
I think just even from the presentation side, I think that probably sparked most of the people's interest.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone have any questions that they want me to ask or answer for them?
So there's a question here that came in. How do you send post communications in the workplace, emails, or do you have a website? You'd mentioned Yammer and Teams chats as well. Do you want to talk about that?
We've barely sent any emails. I'm almost at Cooperators now for almost a year. We rarely use email as that communication channel. So we have Viva Engage, which was Yammer. So we have channels within that, groups that are set up. We have groups like on the record or off the record, like just plays on words. So groups and communities that people can sign up for. But we also have the all company sort of channel, if you're used to it. So we post there. We also have an intranet that we use that has sort of that news feature. And during RIM month, we're always a post up there about how important RIM month is and what we're doing, and sort of referencing that. So we have a multitude of things, and we also have a page off of that. So we always leverage the news within our sort of corporate intranet that everyone has access to. We have a page on that intranet as well that targets all of our tools and resources and materials. So everything we tie into in our campaigns or communications we write to, just hyperlink right back to that content. The biggest struggle for me this year was just remembering and adding enough time in for translation. We're a bilingual company, so really taking the time to produce our materials in both English and French. And I would say sometimes maybe not our English spin on words, maybe translate the same way. So keep that in mind as you create some of those pieces. We've created some really great team relationships. We hit people up all the time on Teams, say, hey, go check this out and share it with your team. And we use that to sort of just click out those links and share that information out with people. But yeah, no, email, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it gets lost in so many other things. And it's only good for the people that had an account that day and it's not followed afterwards. And that same goes for Teams and stuff too, but at least the channels and Viva Engage, that history is there for people to go back to, search or find information when they're doing that.
A quick question on the resources that you link back to all the time. It's just an internally managed website, or do you use something like Teams wikis or anything like that as well?
Yeah, straight out old school M365 SharePoint. Yeah, so the everything our corporate's built around that SharePoint environment. We have multiple pages within that in our own little section. They can link into and find that. We're actually looking at creating another separate hub site for that that's a little bit more self-serve for people, a little bit more static still in terms of hyperlinking people to stuff. We're really looking to create an interactive page for people where they could start typing a topic and the content sort of comes up for them, and they're not scrolling through everything to find what they need. So that's a work in progress for us for this year, for sure.
And just out of curiosity, obviously a lot of people are going to be doing these kinds of things. What kind of engagement percentage, like is everybody in your company? Is it only half? Like how much engagement do you actually get? Especially around the rim, because not everybody's in the rim area. How many people are looking at rim stuff that aren't rim people? Yeah.
So yeah, we target external with our rim campaigns. Like it's everybody else but us, right? Like we sort of celebrate May in terms of, okay, look, let's celebrate ourselves for everything that we did and the lessons we learned. But April's really front, like pushing out to everybody else. I would say like it's probably a 70% engagement rate on our Valentine's Day thing. Like 4,000 or 5,000 people hitting that. Unique hits across that was exceptional. Before that, and if we measured 2 years ago, they might have had 20 hits off something because it was all text and it was, full policy speak and not written in a way that was much more common language and general for people to have sort of to link into it. But not everything's going to hit everybody, right? So if you're too specific, it's okay to be specific in what you're targeting, especially if you're creating a campaign. So all month for us, there's some things we're very targeted on. We have some best tips about imaging, for example. That doesn't apply to our whole organization. Only a handful of groups are doing that kind of work right now or need to do that work and have those types of records. They'll connect much more with that. But, we're sort of also trying to give the, sort of what the whole sort of concept around RIM is and all things that it involves too. And that's a little bit of the education and awareness part that applies into that as well. But not everything you do is going to hit everybody. Not everyone's going to like what you do. So you sort of find those pockets and, those evangelists will tag on to that. We're very lucky. We have a coworker who's the first to comment on everything we put out. I love it. She's an engaging personality, and others, she's that evangelist that others are always connected to as well. So when you have that, it sort of spreads a little bit like wildfire, and it can work from that perspective for you too.
Actually, that kind of one of the questions I was thinking while you're talking was, a lot of especially the upper management or the old guard and all that kind of stuff, when you say we're going to send out memes to everybody, they're like, hey, we have a policy and everybody's supposed to abide by the policy. But this is a great example of you want people to actually engage and read it. And it's not just you need to send people policies and expect them to follow it. Yeah.
I would say if you would ask me a year and a half ago about sending a meme out for IM month, I would, or at any part of the campaign, that older school, like that regime, I would have said, oh God, we can't do that. Someone's going to sort of, panic over that. We can't possibly. You really have to factor in how your workplace operates. What is the culture that you're working with? Really take the time to know if that's going to work. And I would tell you, we didn't really ask permission the first time. We sort of just did it and it worked. So guess what? We did one for March too on being lucky around, I guess, St. Patrick's Day luck. You don't need a 4-leaf clover to find the file you're looking for, and linked out to naming conventions and proper dates. And again, repeating that message that you want people to hear, right? So I have to admit, we have exceptional executive support. When we had created our Valentine's one, we originally just had it on our smaller community channel that people subscribe to. And our leader was the first one to say, oh, no, get that up in all company. Let's go. And it generated so much support from that. So it really depends on where you are. But I think if you can prove yourself a little bit, demonstrate sort of the background behind it, it goes a long way. And people are willing to buy into it a little bit better.
Maybe to shift gears just a little bit. I know you wanted to maybe show some of the presentation stuff, but just one more kind of thing that stood out during the presentation to me, and I think probably other people. You'd mentioned the idea of users having to do things for your records program, for example, putting in metadata. Do you have any examples of places where you have helped users, abide by a policy because of a change in process or some things you were able to automate that worked well, that you kind of learned from some of these, exercises?
It's, they all hate long names, right? They all want their own unique way of naming stuff. No one wants to use the right piece. It's hard, right? So we're growing more and more in terms of the record keeping areas that we have and SharePoint. Moving, like, network shares are really hard to do anything with. Okay, so we all know it's old school, it's been around forever, it works, but you really don't have any control over the network share or anything that you can support them with. So when you create like SharePoint libraries or other repositories that you're creating for information, try to create what is the key metadata already populated based on where you're putting it, or the type of document you've selected. So it sort of helps you cut off some of those pieces right from the get-go. There's also ways of looking at systems depending on how you're moving content into your official record keeping system. Always look for those opportunities to really, how can you automate the end result for them? So if they fill in 3 pieces of information, the file's named for them potentially. So they don't have to name the file, then go in and add additional metadata. So there's ways around that as well that can sort of help with that. And I mean, there's lots of tools out there depending on what your system is. But yeah, one of the key things is really looking to where you're placing the information and how you can leverage it to create that. And it really should be about creation, not later on. So if they can create a net new file and they can use a new template file, for example, and pull down, corporate PowerPoint to use. And because it's in this area, it's already gotten certain metadata assigned to it. That's perfect, right? And they can use that metadata to save and create your file name potentially later. So those are great opportunities to make some change.
That's great. Quick, you said you were at Labatt. What's something different going from kind of a Labatt marketing to IM that maybe did or didn't work in one or the other?
Okay, I'm going to tell you, when you're marketing beer, it's a lot more fun. Just going to say. It's but the same principles apply. Like, I loved working for Labatt. It was a great team. It was innovative. You just tried it. Did it work? And I think that's something we have to learn to embrace in RIM. Just be collaborative, be change leaders, be iterative, like continual improvement. You're not going to get it right the first time. So why are you striving for 100% perfection here? Like, go for, okay, this is a start. What lessons am I going to learn for this to improve it? How am I going to talk to the people, like my audience, and did it work for them? If it did, great. If it didn't, why not? I'm going to change it up for next time. And I think that was probably the biggest lesson I took away from my time there. We used to it was here in St. John's, Newfoundland. And the brewery here is in the side of a hill downtown St. John's, right? Really hard actually for tractor trailers to get in and out of, built with all houses around it. And we had a room there called the Barrel Room. And that was sort of the bar at the brewery. So we used to go up there on Friday evenings and, again, we don't all have the luxury of that social life at work sometimes, but we used to take apart the week in the brewery and pull it all back together again. So one of the key groups I follow, I mentioned Piptex earlier, is really about doing these pre-mortem and post-mortems and talking about your work. That would probably be the best thing I would resonate through all of this, is really just try it, see what works. Don't go out totally on a limb. We talked a lot about those things to keep in mind, to be strategic and focus and address risk. But if you do those things, it's going to come together naturally and it'll push out. So I think that would probably be the biggest thing I took away from that.
Both kind of benefit from a couple drinks at the bar talking about what we're doing.
Hey, right? And I would tell you, as we all get together as RIM professionals, either at conferences or otherwise, when you talk about those things and pull together, like, we've had a couple of Ask Me Anything sessions, coffee things. We had one where we opened it up, it was back in December, and we opened it up to sort of our group that we were under. It was probably, 200-300 people potentially that could join in. And we just made it an hour and say, hey, look, let's drop in. We didn't have an agenda. We didn't have anything, but the RIM staff were online to answer any questions someone might want to pop in on. So the first one only had 1 or 2. Second one had a few more than that. But those that actually came on the call learned a lot. So it was only an hour of our time. If there was no one else on the call, we were either chatting to ourselves or working away, waiting for someone else to join in. And it was great. People don't always think that they'll have time to write the email later or do this or do that. So when they thought they could just jump in and ask a random question and get an answer, they thought that was fabulous.
Cool. So we've got maybe, do you want to spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes showing some of the other tools? Yeah.
I'd love to. Okay, so let me just get my screen switched over here. So pixabay.com. Let's use this. So it's a simple website. You can have a login. One of the key things I do have in my login and when I set it up is that I get to save pictures. So I can go back to them later, figure out ones that I like. So maybe I'm thinking about a campaign. It's like, you know what, I really like to partner with cybersecurity or sort of generate that message. Well, and if I could type and spell at the same time as I talk, it'll give you some prompts like all search tools do. So I can go here and say, hey, there's 253 free images that I could possibly use here that come out of here. These are 100% free. They're downloadable in multiple formats, which is great. There's always this heads up, it's owned by iStock. So there's always this top banner that these are not for free. These will redirect you to iStock. So, but you know, if you had that account, that's great too. But as we scroll down, you know, all of the things, simple messages, you know, that you could use. I often spend some time, I am that geek who sits at my computer at night and probably, you know, randomly creates things. But I'll sit here, I'm like, okay, what inspiration does that draw for me? Does something resonate with me? I can add this to a collection. I can like it. So if I set up my account, those are things I can find in my account later, right? I can look through all kinds of things. Some of them are true, more photography driven images. Some of them are more illustration that you want to work from. Also great options. Some of them possibly never to be used by anybody who wants to go out and not make a negative image of cybersecurity. But you know, those gives you a chance to walk through and look through things. I would tell you it's not huge on records. So I have searched records management before. And give it a chance to pop up. Again, if you want to pay for the iStock account, there's all kinds of stuff here. So some of the key things, again, just look for that inspiration, right? That you're coming through. Again, it's more medical field records that you'll find stuff here, information, connections. Again, not huge. Not every word is going to connect in here to find you sort of what you're looking for, but it has pages and pages of content. But maybe what you really want to focus on is privacy. There's all kinds of choices, right? Things that you can do, have, make it, maybe you just want a mouse in a suit, right? I don't know. See what it plays out for. But there's all kinds of options you can take from that. One of the ones with that we did with that campaign, I think they're still on here. It randomly came up, but they all ended up being generated around a pixel as a word choice, right? So maybe even the theme that you do. Okay, let's just take this one. Old school is cool, okay? I could be sitting here this evening and I'm working away because I tend to do that at home. And I see this and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Why is it cool to me? Because I'm thinking, hey, in my area, do we have a ton of leftover stuff that no one's ever addressed? In that old technology, old things that we're trying to migrate from that we have to address? Okay, let's look at this. We can make it cool. We can deal with it. We can upgrade it. We can modernize it. Maybe it's just saying, hey, we don't have to change our ways. And you know, we can keep this is fine. We're going to take it this way and we're going to do it this way forever. And that's okay too. So you can take any image on here and then think, how would that resonate with the audience that you're targeting for? When you come in here, you have a bunch of, again, watch out for the iStock side of other images. Come down here. It's all kinds of them. Maybe it's a back to school campaign. Maybe you're talking about pictures. There's all kinds of compass and navigation things, leading the way, setting direction. All of that stuff sort of flies in with that. It can be a bit of play on words as you're creating things. You can follow, you can donate, by the way, if you feel like you can buy coffee around here for anyone. You can hit download. So there's a number of formats you can have in size-wise. You can also, for most of these, take a full-on vector file of it. So if you actually have editing software yourself, Adobe or other versions that you're using, you can take the full AI package down and work from that as well, which is great. It's helpful when you're going through things. One of the other one is the Presentation Go. Oop, and if I type it right, I won't get a weird website. This thing is amazing. It has all kinds of templates, text and tables, timelines, graphics, and metaphors. You want to search for something? That's the place to find it. But if I want a infographic, actually, let's just go with roadmap. These are all the different slides that they have available to you to start doing. So, you know, maybe it's about projects that you're working on and doing a project roadmap. Maybe it's, you know, anything, a simple calendar of activities that you're working on. Maybe you want milestones chart because you want to communicate on the things you're doing. You know, don't forget during RIM month, celebrate your successes of your clients and of yourself. One of the things we have planned on like the second last day of RIM month this year is just a coffee and chat. Like it's meant to be show and tell. Come on in and join us. We're going to have a few coffee prizes to give away and gift cards. But come in, we'll talk about who the winner of the quiz was, who got the most right answers, and more than likely a lot of right answers. So we'll take a draw for that. But let people talk about what they learned the most of, what they did in their area. You know, we don't have IM professionals out in all of the other departments and areas. So they look to us to provide the content for people to be able to take that forward. So it's a great chance to sort of, you know, surprise them, do something within that. These are great. So you simply can select on any one of them in creating that. And if I don't click on the ad versus the other part, so I will warn you, this is free. So with free comes ads. That's how it all works. So if you come down below any one of these, all these images are, you can edit those right in PowerPoint, swap them out for your icons that are currently in. PowerPoint is a great set of icons that are in there. That's what everyone wants to see, those little buttons, those little quick pieces. Canva can create a ton of icons for you very quickly as you're working through. So you just come down, it'll all do 16:9 size preview, which is great. It gives you the option of both light and dark approaches, which is great depending on your style that you're using. And you can come here and just select the piece that you want. So terms of use are there. They're all free. It does like you to reference of where you got it, but you can do old school 4:3 PowerPoint, the widescreen, or Google Slides, which is really good to create something and go with it. Another great website that I get a lot of inspiration from. Let's see. I don't know if you guys have checked out PipDecks before. They're funny. Their videos are funny. They're a really funny group. They're really out of the box. So there's tons of information here. A lot of the stuff is free. You can buy the vaults, you know, other access that's here. It talks about how to do things, how to talk to people in groups. There's a whole section here, a whole card deck built on storytelling and things that you can do. So for example, let's get a storyteller guide. These are recipes, things that you can do. So how to fascinate your audience in a presentation. Maybe you want to do more of that because it's going to help you and walk you through some of those key tips. How to market your business with stories. Believe it or not, as in RIM, we are marketing our business through stories and case studies and successes. We are selling ourselves and trying to sell ourselves to the business to get them to do the work that we can't do for them, right? So keep that in mind as you're creating things. Like there's tons of marketing material out there, business material that really talk to the same things we're doing every day in terms of trying to get more and more people that we work with on board with the habits and practices that we need them to do so that we're compliant at the end of the day and we're reducing risk and not opening ourselves up to more potential problems in the future. So those are just a couple. Anybody else have anything they wanted to see specifically?
No, I think we're getting close to the end of the hour here. So just kind of as you're talking there, I was kind of curious on, do you see any other departments kind of being this central social parts of organizations, or do you really feel like it's just because it's you there, or do you, what's your sense of what should, maybe, what do you feel, is it that IM or the RIM should be the central kind of social networking area of the organization?
I think it's an opportunity, right? So it's not everyone's sort of action that you want to go forward with. Like it's not everyone's wheelhouse either to be more to be more social and more out there. We're often a lot more, we're a quiet bunch in RIM often, right? Like we're not necessarily the social butterflies that are out there doing that stuff. So take your moment, but scale it for you, right? Like don't go all in and sort of go totally outside your comfort zone. I will tell you though, most companies are trying to find a way to do things slightly different. So finding a way to engage, employee engagement is a strong focus of companies now more than ever. So if you can work within that and do things that are engaging more and sort of resonating, that's a win for everybody across the company. They get to learn who you are, you're connecting with more people. I've made more connections at work in my not quite a year yet time frame because of something that was posted and someone had a question or my name was tagged to something and they reached out. So I do think I'm in a very unique company though, who really has a strong focus on that mentality. I really do. Like it's a culture that's created around us to be partners with each other and be collaborative and reach out to each other. That is certainly not the case everyone can tag into, but I think you can create pockets of it. You can find those groups like your allies in cybersecurity and privacy and have that relationship with them if you can't have the relationship with everybody from there. And I think that's really important. Do it at a scale that works for you.
Yeah, that's great. I like the resources you showed here. I know some of the people, you mentioned AI a couple of times and how that's helping. I actually just jumped into Copilot, the new Copilot, and got it to create me a RIM month presentation about.
See?
Yeah, so some of these you don't need to have the graphic typing skills, writing skills, all that kind of stuff to do these with tools like this and some of them that are available to see. Yeah.
And just think like we're so used to just creating these long posts and these long presentations. And there's so much font on the page, then the presentation that we reduce it down to size 12 that no one can see because we have to get everything on this page. Like just switching gears a little bit and making it more about, telling the story to people. What are you trying to bring them along for? What are you selling them? What do you want them to embrace to be part of that, right? And I think that works, more honey than vinegar, and gets you more sort of relationships and building and collaborations that you can work with. Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming to the end of the hour here. Rick, do you want to take over and wrap up?
Thanks, Troy. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Donna so much for coming on, and as always, Donna, very interesting presentation. Very animated, as I know you always are.
I don't know how to stay still.
Yeah, I see you with pom-poms in your hands sometimes, Donna, so
maybe I should. I would probably move my hands less then.
Yeah, it was great. No, I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everybody else had a great time too. I really thoroughly enjoyed the resource discussion at the end too, and all the sites that you use. I think that was very good for me too. I really enjoyed that as well myself.
And like I said, we're always throwing stuff with what you have, right? Find
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just a call out, Donna and Terra Nova chapter. Thank you for doing this presentation today for our first presentation of RIM month. We don't have anything for the next two yet, but there is a beautiful presentation that Toronto's going to do on the 24th, 7th. Troy, remember the
7th? No,
27th. Well, you'll see the
Somewhere
publications coming through. The last week or a month, there is a beautiful presentation by one of the very good board members in Toronto that's going to be talking about CGSB compliance and the CGSB document as well. So really timely. Yep.
Through the registration it got for the 24th.
Thanks, Troy. I didn't introduce Troy at the start of the session. Troy is one of my partners at Western IM. He, as most of you know Troy at this point, but Troy's our Director of Development at Western IM. We were thoroughly pledged to always be kind to the RIM community and make sure that education is there in Canadian education for our RIM community here in Canada. So we try to help as much as we can. I'm looking forward to the rest of the presentations for this year. And again, on to our next year's presentations starting in September. So we'll keep the cards and letters going for our IMCanadaConnect program, which is really a combination, for those of you that don't know, for all of the chapters in Canada put up a presentation every year to give us a Canadian presentation content for our ARMA community in Canada here. So thank you again. Really happy to have everybody on, and always a pleasure to see all my friends and everybody on the sessions. It's great. And for those of you that are going to be in Calgary, come look me up. I'll be there for sure, presenting, I think, on Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning of the conference. So, but look me up. You might find me as the old days in Donna might find me at a bar stool somewhere with a glass of wine in my hand.
I might be. Yeah, I wish I was joining you in the stool
I
next
wish
to
you were too, Donna. I wish you were too.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody
It was a
have a
pleasure.
great rest of your week, and thanks again, Donna.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye now.